and welcome to Wool & Works. Today we're going to be learning how to join your granny squares using the join as you go method. I love this method because I know those squares are stuck together. They are not going anywhere, and I don't need to stitch them together at the end, which means less ends to weave in, and who doesn't want that? So if you haven't already, go and watch my granny square tutorial and then come back here and let's learn how to join them. For this tutorial, you're going to need some yarn to stitch your squares together. Now, if you're using, say, grey squares, you would use the grey yarn. I'll be using pink today as a contrasting colour just so you can easily see where I'm inserting my crochet hook or tapestry needle, but always use the yarn that you want to be hidden with your squares. You will need a crochet hook, and this will be used for the single crochet method and the join as you go method, and then some tapestry needles which will be used to weave in your ends and also do the back loop method. If you've already finished your granny squares and you'd then like to join them, this is how you can do it. So this method is called the back loop method, and you want to take the right side of your granny squares. So I've left the tails on mine, so I know that's the wrong side. But if you haven't got your tails, when you look closely, you'll see the stitches for your double crochet have these diagonal bars. And if you flip over, they're quite bumpy. So the side that has the diagonal bars and they're quite flat, that's your right side, and the bumpy side is the wrong side. So take your right sides and face them together. So if I flip this over, I can only see the wrong sides now. And you want to line them up so that the stitches line up all the way around. And the back loop, because I'm looking at the wrong side, will actually be the loop that's closest to me, so this edge here. And on the other side, it'll be the one furthest from me. So it's these two loops that I'm going to join together. You want to find the one that lines up, so I'll go into one of my chain stitches. I've got a chain of 2 in the corner. I'm going to go into the first one that's closest to the stitch on the left and match that up with the one at the back. And all you want to do is go inside the back loop on one, and I'm going to do it in pink just so you can see where I'm inserting the yarn, but you want to do this in the same colour, so I would normally do this in the grey. And then I'm going to insert into the back loop of the chain stitch from the other side, like so, and pull that through. And again, go into the next stitch, go into the back loop on the one closest to me, and then into the back loop on the one that's furthest from me. And make sure you're just picking up the back loop. You don't want to go under the whole stitch, so you don't want to go here under 2 loops, you just want to pick up the back loop and pull through. And you can pull this quite tight, and you'll work this going into the back loops on both pieces all the way across until the end. So I've worked that all the way across here, and then if I was to grab my next square, I'd do the same and join that edge. But you can see when I open this up, and if I pull this quite tight, even though I've used pink yarn, it's almost invisible. And I really love this method because it makes your squares look like they are sitting side by side, and you can still see those neat V-like stitches. I've left this quite loose so you can see how it works, but obviously if you pull it tighter, you won't be able to see that strand, and obviously if it's the same colour you won't be able to see it at all. So this is a great method to join your granny squares, and if you are using the join as you go method, which is this one here, you can see this seam here will look somewhat similar to what's here, so you can mix the two methods together. And that is the back loop seam method. So another method that works really well is the single crochet seam. So again, you want to have the right sides of your pieces facing together. So when you flip it over, all you can see is the wrong sides. And you want to make a slip knot onto your crochet hook. So to do that, take the tail end of your yarn, wrap it over the working end, go inside the loop, grabbing the tail, and pull to make a knot. Put this onto your crochet hook. And you want to line them up as we did for the back loop method. So these stitches line up along the edges. And we're going to go into the chain space in the corner, and with our working yarn behind our granny squares, we're going to insert our hook from the front through to the back, yarn over and pull up a loop, and do a slip stitch, like so. Now we're going to work not into the loops at the top, but we're actually going to work into the spaces between our double crochet stitches. So we've got our chain space here that we've just done a slip stitch into, and now we're going to work into this space between our two double crochet stitches. So I'm going to insert my hook through here on the first square, and I'm going to do the same on the back square. Yarn over, pull up a loop, then yarn over and pull through two for a single crochet. You're going to do that all the way along, inserting between your stitches and then doing a single crochet stitch. Now again, I'm using a different coloured yarn, but you'd use the same colour as your squares, or if you had a border, you'd use the same colour as your border. When you get to the chain space, you can insert straight into the chain space and do your single crochet that way. So continue that all the way along till the end. And the last one into the last chain space there. Alright, so now we've got a row of single crochets all the way along, and you can see this creates kind of a ridge on our wrong side. But when we flip it over, you can see, once obviously if it was in grey you wouldn't be able to see this, but these are nice and tightly connected. So if you're wanting something that's really secure, I would definitely go for the single crochet method. I'll just pull this out to show you better. So you can see these are really tight together. So it does cause a ridge on the bottom. If you don't mind what you can see on the back, I think this is fine, and it doesn't necessarily look bad. But that's what that one will look like. So I prefer the back loop method, but if you're wanting something more secure, this is the way to go. So here are two granny squares that I've already joined together, and we're now going to be joining a third one. So to do this, I've gone around, I'm on my third round of this granny square, and I've done half of this corner. So I've worked 3 double crochet stitches into this corner, and normally I would now chain 2, but instead I'm going to start to join it to this square. So this one's going to sit here, and what we're going to do is, rather than chaining 2, we're going to do a slip stitch into this corner. And if this square's going here, we're not going to join it to this one in the corner, we're going to join it into this space here. So you're going to join your squares on the corner or the square diagonal to the one you're working on. And to do the slip stitch, we're going to take our hook right into this corner, and we're going to put it in from the top to the bottom. So I'm currently working, these are my right sides all on the top, and my wrong sides where the tail is. Take your crochet hook and insert from the right side through to the wrong side, and then with your yarn you just want to wrap it and pull it up through that loop, and then pull it straight through the loop on your hook. So that will now be connected diagonally. I'll show that again. So we've done our 3 double crochets here. Now I'm going to take my hook and insert it from the right side to the wrong side of our granny square that's diagonal, and wrap the yarn, and we're going to pull that through to the right side and then pull it through the loop on our hook. So I've just pulled through, and normally we do a chain of 2, so we're going to chain 1, and then we'll do our 3 double crochet stitches like we normally do into that chain space. There's 2, and here is 3. So you can see now this is connected diagonally to this square, and we're going to connect the sides to this one here. So to do that, we're going to slip stitch into this next space. So we're going to slip stitch into here. We do that by taking our needle and from the right side inserting it through to the wrong side, wrapping the yarn and pulling it up through the slip stitch, and pulling that straight through like so. I'll show that again. So we take our hook, insert from the right side through to the wrong side, wrap the yarn and pull it up through that chain space and pull it through for a slip stitch. So now we're joined here at the corner, and we're joined here on the side, and we'll work our next lot of double crochets into our next chain space. So we're actually working up this square as we join it. So we've still got 2 sides to go. That's why this one looks smaller than these ones. So we'll do our 3 double crochets. And rather than chaining 1, we'll work into the next chain space from the adjacent square. So again, insert your hook from the right side through to the wrong side, wrap the yarn over your hook and pull it through that chain space, and pull it through the other loop on your hook for a slip stitch. And then work your 3 double crochets into the corner. You can do this on whichever round. You just start on 1 less round. So if your squares are say 3 rounds like these ones here, I'll join on the 3rd round as I'm doing it. So if your squares are 4 rounds when they're complete, you'll join on your 4th round as you work this last granny square. So again, this time because I don't have any other square, I can work it straight into this corner here. So I'll insert through, wrap the yarn, so I'll insert through, wrap the yarn, pull that up through that chain space, and then pull it through the other loop on my hook for a slip stitch. I'll show that one more time. So to join into the adjacent corner, take my hook and insert it from the right side through to the wrong side, wrap the yarn, pull it through the chain space and pull it through the loop on my hook for a slip stitch. And now you can see these are joined at the corner here to this square, and it's joined all the way along this edge to this one. So that square is never coming apart unless one of those threads gets snipped. So these are joined forever and ever now, and you have no ends to weave it in. I think that's what I like the best. There's way less risk of this coming undone because they're woven together with the stitches, and I don't need to go through and weave in my ends with a tapestry needle later. So how good is that? So then we've done our chain 1 in there. We've normally got a chain 2 in the corners, so I'll chain another one, and then we work our 3 double crochets into this stitch. Chain 1, and then I can just finish that off that edge as I normally would and do an invisible seam at the end. So that is how to join as you go. Now let's say you've made all of your squares already and then you've looked up a video, how do I join my squares? I want to join them now. So what you can do, if you want it, you can still use the join as you go method, but you can do it with your border. So let's say I wanted to add a pink border to this granny square here, and these were not joined. I could then, as I work my border around the granny square, I could do the join as you go method with the border and connect these 2 squares. And you could do this for as many squares as you like for your whole project. So even if you have finished squares, you can still use the join as you go method with a border. So now you know how to join your granny squares. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and if you did, please give it a like and subscribe to my YouTube channel so you don't miss my future tutorials. If you want to see what I'm making at the moment, head over to @woolenworks on Instagram or Facebook. Thanks for watching.